It's a story you think you know. December 1st, 1955. A tired seamstress named Rosa Parks, on her way home from work in Montgomery, Alabama, refuses to give up her seat on a segregated bus. Her arrest sparks a citywide boycott, a movement is born, and a young preacher named Martin Luther King Jr. is propelled onto the national stage. But what if I told you that simple story, the one about a tired woman who just had enough, isn't the whole truth? What if her act wasn't spontaneous, but a deliberate, strategic strike against a brutal system? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the quiet revolution that changed America forever, the meticulously planned, brilliantly executed Montgomery Bus Boycott. To understand the explosion, you first have to understand the powder keg. Life for black residents in 1950s Montgomery was dictated by the iron fist of Jim Crow laws. Segregation wasn't just a matter of separate water fountains. It was a system of daily humiliation, especially on the city buses. Black passengers paid their fare at the front, then had to get off and re-enter through the back door to sit in the designated colored section. If the white section filled up, they were forced to stand and give their seats to white passengers. Bus drivers, armed with the authority of the law, often insulted, shortchanged, and even physically assaulted black riders. This wasn't an occasional inconvenience. It was a constant, soul-crushing assault on their dignity. For years, black community leaders in Montgomery had been searching for a way to challenge this injustice. Groups like the Women's Political Council, or WPC, led by the formidable Joanne Robinson, had been documenting abuses and trying to negotiate with city officials for years, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. They knew a boycott was a powerful weapon. The city's bus system relied heavily on the fares of its black ridership, but to pull it off, they needed the perfect test case, a person whose character was so unimpeachable that their arrest would galvanize the entire community. They had considered others, like Claudette Colvin, a brave teenager arrested for the same offense months earlier, but they worried her youth and personal circumstances might be used by opponents to discredit the movement. Then came Rosa Parks. Parks was no random, tired seamstress. She was a seasoned activist, the secretary of the local NAACP chapter, and had trained at the Highlander Folk School, a center for social justice activism. She knew exactly what she was doing. When the bus driver, James Blake, ordered her to move, she wasn't just tired from a day of work. She was tired of giving in. Her quiet, firm no was the spark the WPC had been waiting for. The moment Parks was arrested, the machine of resistance roared to life. Joanne Robinson and the WPC worked through the night, secretly using a mimeograph machine at Alabama State College to print and distribute over 50,000 leaflets, calling for a one-day boycott. Pastors announced it from their pulpits. Words spread like wildfire through the city's black neighborhoods. The plan was for a single day of protest on Monday, December 5th, the day of Parks's court hearing. No one was sure if it would work. Would people really sacrifice their only means of transportation? That Monday morning, the city held its breath. The buses that were usually packed with black workers rolled by, almost completely empty. The one-day protest was an overwhelming success, with over 90% participation. That afternoon, community leaders gathered to form a new organization to lead the protest forward, the Montgomery Improvement Association, or MIA, and to lead it, they elected a charismatic, 26-year-old pastor, who was relatively new to town, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That night, speaking to a packed church, Dr. King delivered a speech that set the tone for the entire movement. He declared, "We are here this evening for serious business. We are here in a general sense, because first and foremost, we are American citizens, and we are determined to apply our citizenship to the fullness of its meaning." His message combined righteous anger with a call for Christian love and nonviolence, inspiring thousands to commit to the long haul. What started as a one-day protest now stretched into an indefinite boycott. The central demand was simple, and by today's standards remarkably moderate. Courteous treatment from drivers first come, first served seating with black people, filling seats from the back and whites from the front, and the hiring of black bus drivers for routes in predominantly black neighborhoods. They weren't even demanding full integration yet. The city refused. And so, the battle of wills began. The logistical challenge was staggering. How do you get 40,000 people to work, school, and appointments every single day without buses? The answer was a testament to the community's ingenuity and solidarity. The MIA organized a massive, complex carpool system, often called a private taxi service. Black taxi drivers agreed to charge boycott participants the same 10-cent fare as the bus. Churches bought station wagons, which became the movement's unofficial fleet. People with cars volunteered to drive, following intricate routes mapped out at dispatch centers set up in churches and community halls. Others simply walked, sometimes for miles, creating walking brigades that became a powerful symbol of their determination. This rolling church, as it was sometimes called, was the backbone of the boycott, fueled by donations from across the country and the world. The white establishment didn't stand by idly. They fought back with everything they had. Boycotters were harassed by police, who issued tickets for trivial traffic violations. Dr. King was arrested on a trumped-up speeding charge. His home was bombed, as were the homes of other leaders and churches. White supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan held intimidating rallies. The city tried to break the carpool system by using an obscure anti-boycotting law to indict over 80 MIA leaders, including Dr. King. But every act of intimidation only strengthened the community's resolve. When the leaders were arrested, they turned themselves in proudly, dressed in their Sunday best, transforming a moment of persecution into a moment of honor. As the boycott dragged on for months, costing the bus company and downtown businesses tens of thousands of dollars, the legal strategy ran on a parallel track, while the community demonstrated its economic power on the streets. NAACP lawyers, led by Thurgood Marshall, took the fight to the courts. They filed a federal lawsuit, Browder v. Gale, directly challenging the constitutionality of bus segregation itself. This was a crucial shift in strategy, moving beyond the initial moderate demands to a direct assault on the principle of separate but equal. Finally, after 381 grueling days of walking, carpooling, and enduring harassment, the breakthrough came. On November 13, 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed a lower court's ruling in Browder v. Gale, declaring that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. The city's laws were struck down. It was a monumental victory. On December 21, 1956, the buses of Montgomery were officially integrated. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., along with other leaders, boarded one of the first integrated buses, sitting symbolically in the front. The Montgomery Bus Boycott was so much more than a protest over seating. It was a masterclass in nonviolent direct action that provided the blueprint for the civil rights movement. It demonstrated that ordinary people, when organized, disciplined, and united, could challenge and defeat entrenched systems of injustice. It proved the power of economic withdrawal and community solidarity, and it introduced the world to the leadership and philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who would go on to lead the struggle for equality for the next decade. The quiet courage of Rosa Parks, combined with the strategic brilliance of Joanne Robinson, and the inspirational leadership of Dr. King, created a perfect storm that changed the course of American history. It showed that a revolution doesn't always have to begin with a loud bang, but can start with a quiet, determined no. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive. If you find these stories as important as we do, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell. It helps us continue to bring these pivotal moments to light. We'll see you in the next video.